There are 62 unique manufacturers in Grand Theft Auto 5, and after spending 250 days in the game, I thought it's probably time we rank all 62 of them from worst to best. So for some early clarification, here are the stats that I use to rank them. How many different types of vehicles do they produce? How many vehicles do they make in total? How long has it been since the most recent addition to their lineup? What is their most and least expensive vehicle? And finally, the average speed of the vehicles that they make. Quick disclaimer, I am not comparing these to their real-life counterparts, as that gets into a whole debate. Following these rules, Jack Shep is the worst manufacturer in the entire game, making only the lawnmower, which is extremely slow, and you can't even buy, earn, or own this vehicle. Stanley is quite similar, only making 3 vehicle models: the Fieldmaster, the Rusty Tractor, and the Snowy Fieldmaster. So, again, very slow. You can only own one of them, and you have to grind to the highest tier of Arena Wars, which just isn't worth it. Kraken is fairly cool and unique, making the Kraken and Avisa submarines, but who really uses the submarines in game anymore? And before you come at me, there is no official manufacturer for the original submersible. It was not made by Kraken. Chariot is a bit more iconic, but again only makes the Romero hearse, but luckily you can buy, find, and own this car. Tundra was a recent addition to the game, having only made the Panther. This manufacturer opened its factory doors in February of 2023 and hasn't been seen since. HVY is our first major company, but given that they only produce oversized and slow vehicles, they couldn't rank too well. With prices ranging from $450,000 to $3 million, many people may not know that they also produce the Skylift helicopter. Vom Fuhrer barely even counts for this list, as they're mainly a weapons manufacturer. But they do make the AA trailer, so I guess technically speaking I have to include it. But also, is a trailer a vehicle? Buckingham isn't a half-bad company, having produced some of the greatest aerial vehicles in the entire game. However, they do score low due to 2 things. First off, why did they make the tugboat? How does that fit into their company? And finally, whose idea was it to charge $10 million for a golden plane? Speedophile has an interesting name. That's about it. Pegassi is mostly a vehicle delivery or storage company, but not many people know that they were the manufacturers of the MOC trailer, which is a nice business. However, again, it's just a trailer, which arguably, I guess, couldn't be a vehicle. Having made the Jester RR for $2 million and the Akuma for $9,000, the range here is wild. However, cars and bikes are not where Dinka draws the line, as they also produce go-karts, quads, and the Marquis sailboat. Brute is very similar to HVY, but luckily the prices and performance are just a slight bit better. Coil couldn't be much better than this, not because I hate electric cars, but because I don't want to deal with the people who do tearing me a new one in the comments. Lampadati makes some fairly forgettable cars, but they also make the Tauros boat, and surprisingly the overall speed of the manufacturer ain't half bad. Zirconium has had 1 addition since the game's release, but let's be honest, is the Journey 2 really that special? MTL is HVY's main competitor, but in this case, the Brigade 6x6 being a business really helped its position over its competition. Plus, they made the Dune, Cerberus, and somehow managed to build the Wastelander and hide the engine God knows where. Cheval surprisingly hasn't had a new production car since 2018, and only makes 5 cars, 3 of which cost under $38,000, one at $500,000, and then you have the Taipan at $1.9 million. The one and only motorcycle exclusive manufacturer is LCC, who makes 4 bikes and seemingly went out of business in 2016 after releasing the Sanctus. Gallivanter makes 8 fast and stylish SUVs. The problem is, they all look basically the same, because all 8 vehicles are variations of the Baller, and we already had too many of these 8 years ago. Dundreary, Truffade, and Hijack are all mid-tier brands. Sure, Dundreary has the most recent edition with the Landstalker XL, Truffade with the highest top speed of the Nero Custom or Z-Type, and Hijack with their 2 cars, which are both very budget-friendly. Now, when I said that LCC was the only company that made strictly bikes, you're probably in disbelief thinking, what about Shih Tzu? Well, alongside 6 bikes, they also make an equal amount of boats. That's right, the maker of the HSW Kuchu Drag, which is the 2nd fastest bike in the game, also made the Sun Track, which is one of the slowest boats in the game. Now, for the sake of time, let's rapid fire through some other manufacturers that only make cars and are right in the middle. Willard isn't overly fast. Emperor is slightly faster overall. Obey might be a surprise, but let's be real, they make a lot less cars than you think. Vicer's Neo may be quick, but they also need more cars. Volcar, however, makes more than you think with 6. Rune has a very good variety, but again, nothing too fast. Overflawed may be fast, but those speeds come at a price, and it ain't cheap. Fathom is a company that few people openly like, but they just had a new addition this year. Weenie, the small manufacturer that could, unless you're looking for variety. Maxwell appeared in 2019 with 2 cars, and no one's heard from him since. Dubachi has 13 cars, but again has such a broad range in prices it's hard to gear, starting at $132,000 and climbing to $3.75 million. BF is known for their buggies and the Weevil, but don't forget that they made the ramp buggy. However, I don't think that forgives the abomination that is the Raptor. Who drives this? Who wanted this? What the fuck? Shyster only has 2 vehicles in GTA 5, and I have to specify because people love to remind me that Shyster was in GTA 4 and was seen in the GTA 6 trailer. Shyster is a small company in GTA 5. Shush. Putting Canis in 32nd might be putting the Jeep lovers' panties in a twist. Sure, they can go off-road, but the fastest thing they produce only goes 188 kilometers an hour, which in the overall game is okay. As we move into the top 25, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be ranking every single billboard at 25,000 subs, which we're getting extremely close to. And if you want to see that video a week earlier than anyone else, consider becoming a member for as low as $2. Classique only has 1 official vehicle, which came in 2023. However, the D-Class Stallion has Classique badges, so who knows what Rockstar was thinking. MS has luxury on their side and a free armored car you can earn. But again, out of all 15 cars, there's really only 6 or 7 styles that they stick to. Progen, for any new players here, was not always in the game. Added in 2015, the T20 was the first Progen, and they make some fast cars. Joe Built is the leader when it comes to big rig trucks, having made both the Hauler Custom and Phantom Custom, 2 of the strongest vehicles in the game. They also make 3 planes, including the Laser, so I don't know where that came from. Now I'm going to let this clip play out because I've never actually flown through this tunnel before and I was impressed with myself, so enjoy. Fister is iconic, but similar to Gallivanter, it just makes a bunch of comets that are all similar. However, they do perform better, which is its saving grace. As we get into the more common and well-known brands, we move into the area where bias can take over. But remember the aspects that we're rating over. Bravado may make 41 cars, but the most expensive one is $5.4 million. And they can be fast like the HSW Banshee, but they also make slow cars, like the Half-Track, which only goes 94 kilometers an hour. Grotti is a small-ish manufacturer, not only because they have 23 cars, but because they tend to be fairly small cars in general. Unless you look at the Vigilante. Whose idea, Grotti? Albany also makes 23 cars, most of which may not be fast, but they are stylish. I mean, between the Hermes, Frankenstange, Roosevelt, and Brigham. Most well known for their lineup of Dukes, Imponte also made the Deluxo and the Ruiner 2000. These are 2 of the most expensive cars in the game, which really brings up the average price of this brand. Annis is one of the fastest cars due to its boost, and a brand new addition with the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC. Now personally, I'm not a huge fan of Annis cars, but this list is not based on bias, so I'll have to suck it up. Pinot only makes 1 vehicle, which has 2 versions when HSW is included, and I'm not sure how its score got this high. The next manufacturer makes the broadest range of vehicles of any brand. Nagasaki is most well known for its bikes, but also makes the Buzzard, the Ultralight, the Dinghy, the Caddy, and the entire Blazer lineup. Bolocon's first and only production car was already in showrooms before someone told them that Bolocon didn't sound anything like a fashionable German brand, and the car sucked ass. At least that was the case for 10 years, until the Envisage was released 2 weeks ago. This auto manufacturing comeback really put Bolocon back on the map. Invetero, like Gallivanter and Fister, only makes Coquettes. However, they all have different models, good performance, and aren't overly expensive, making Invetero a great manufacturer despite only having 5 vehicles. Ocelot is a forgotten brand and was one of the first to jack their prices up with the Lynx, and a few years ago, this would have scored very poorly due to that fact. But now, that price is pretty average. Ubermacht has some decent cars, mainstream pricing, and good performance. Having bikes, helicopters, and cars, my Batsu isn't overly memorable, but hey, they did good enough to break into the top 10. Conceit may only have 6 vehicles, but with 4 bikes and the 2 Devastate 8 models, they were somehow good enough to get into the top 8. Maybe my ranking is broken. Western makes good vehicles, but again, they're kind of expensive. It's helpful that they have 30 vehicles, including planes, bikes, and helicopters. With prices ranging from $3,000 to $2 million, Karen likely would have been much closer to the top if it were up to me. I'm such a big fan of Toyota and Karen, however, they just don't have what it takes to crack the top 5, and I'm not letting bias take over. Pegassi makes some wonderful cars like the Faggio, Faggio Sport, Faggio Mod, and the soon-to-be released Pizza Boy. Oh, and they also make the Toreador and both Oppressors, but not many people know or remember those ones. Vapid shouldn't be a surprise this high up, but might be a surprise being in 4th. But they do make nearly 80 vehicles, yet somehow they're all just cars. Most recently added was the Dominator FX Interceptor, which was released 2 days ago. However, with having 3 cop cars, the average Vapid is very expensive. For example, the Dominator GTX is also overpriced, and it's a horribly performing car. Luckily, there are 5 Vapid cars that you can earn for free. Manufacturer makes some good cars that perform great, only being a Vapid due to its slightly lower average cost and slightly higher top speeds. They also made the Terabyte, which at one point was one of the best business vehicles. Mammoth has been around for a while, most notably with their Patriot lineup. But don't forget their contributions to the Sky. The Thruster, Hydra, Avenger, and Raiju are all very useful, so despite only 15 cars, they do score quite high. Despite having 5 cars priced at over $3 million, the Class A takes first place due to the fact that the other 65 vehicles they make are fairly reasonably priced. From the Scramjet to the DR1 and numerous emergency service vehicles, the Class A knows what's up. And I know the Class A and Vapid are heavy competitors, but Class A has cheaper cars, higher top speeds, and a higher variety type of vehicles. But if bias did play a part, this would have scored a lot lower just for the mob. You know that I hate it, and that explanation is coming soon. But if you think a different manufacturer needs to be on top, let me know in the comments below and I'll start tallying up extra votes. If things start changing dramatically, I'll update the list if needed. And if you want more ranking, check out my pool ranking video where I rank all 259 swimming pools in the entire game.